Alright. Alright, hey, FF Nation, look who we have here in the house. We got Jeremy Warren, drummer of Double F, Frank Foster. We found him on the ship. We talked him into doing some questions for us. So I also have Jamie and Brandon here, the other admins of the Facebook page. So we'll kind of just get started here.
Couldn't find nobody else?
Couldn't find nobody else.
Yeah,
Topher's already drunk, so we don't know where he's at. Hey, anyway, if you want to follow Jeremy Warren 84 on Instagram, follow him on there, and you can find out some good information also. So, Jeremy, so how's the cruise going so far?
It's going good. I got my wife and little fella here.
Nice.
And we're having a big time. This is my first cruise. I've never been on one.
So how's it going so far? How you like it so far?
I like it. I like it. The problem I have is I gotta not eat as much.
Right.
It's like all the food's just right there.
Yeah,
all the desserts. You just can't. You don't have to stop.
Yeah.
You know.
I had a diet before we came on here, so
yeah.
I'm hoping I stay even until I get back, but I don't think it's going to happen.
But I enjoy it. It's and not toot your horn, but it's neat to meet some of the guys in person.
It is. It's very good.
Out, visit.
I know you guys are jealous out there that's not on the cruise with us, but it is awesome just hanging out with the guys and seeing them around the ship all week long and getting to say hey to them.
Sorry, Barry. Sorry, Leah.
You might find out we're not as cool as you think.
They're cooler than you think. It's all right. But hey, they're all about family. They're hanging out with their family. We're trying to, kind of give them their respect and kind of staying away from them. Kind of let them. It's their vacation also. So it's good that you're having a vacation.
Yeah.
With your working.
Yeah. You got a working vacation. And,
yeah.
And you do everything here on the ship as far as the music stuff goes.
Right.
And right now we're in the part that's the easiest because we don't have to play for a couple of days. And so we get to just wake up and have breakfast and go do whatever.
Yeah, so this video is actually, we've already had 2 performances already. So we were gearing up for Saturday coming up here. So everybody's getting pumped up for the Saturday show. So we have met people from everywhere. I mean, I don't know how many people you've met. We've met people from California, Montana, Idaho. A lot of people out west that's traveled for their first time seeing you guys. I mean, how's that make you guys feel that people actually travel that far for their first show?
I mean, it's real humbling. In fact, right after I seen you earlier today, when you left and got on the boat, I was talking to some guys, 2 couples. They were brothers, and they each had their wives over there. And they had just one had just gotten married, and one was celebrating 10-year anniversary. And they saved their money. And I mean, this is their, they got married in I think November, but this is their honeymoon.
Right.
And their anniversary either had already took place or was in the near future, but this was their big thing. So you realize that people, it's a huge commitment financially and time. You have to plan.
It is.
And that's humbling that people would they care that much about what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
To do that, I mean, I don't know any other way to explain it because it's really.
I know myself. I've been wanting to go on a cruise for forever. Me and my wife went on one like 11 years ago. So this came up, and I'm like, "Hey, do you want to do that cruise?" She's like, "If you want to." It's like, "Oh, we're in."
Yeah.
So she gave me that word. We're locked in. I put my money down. We made our payments all the way through the season here, and we're ready for it.
Yeah.
We've been counting down.
Ours was a crazy deal too because we actually had a cruise booked and had to cancel for some financial reasons.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later,
he announced
the cruise, and I was like, "Put that money back on the cruise." We're going.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I mean, it's an honor, and I can't say for sure, but I'm confident we'll do this again. At some point.
I know it's kind of been a little hectic with the carnival schedule and everything because we've got certain times it says the concert's going to start, and all of a sudden it's a half hour because you guys want to give us the best performance. You're doing your sound check. And
so the way
set up.
There's the way some of that kind of worked out, and the reason it's weird times is because the company that put all this together, Globe Trek, is a travel agency based in Southeast Florida. And I know Frank and I both know one of the guys that runs it. So he came to Frank with the proposal.
Is this Mike, the Gator guy?
Mike,
all right.
Yeah. And anyways, make a long story short, Frank agreed to do it, and then we began dealing with the logistics. Me and Jason, the sound guy, putting things together, and we dealt with one lady from Carnival who is not on the boat. She's in Miami, I think.
Okay.
And as more and more people started to buy tickets or whatever, make reservations, they realized that, I don't know what room we were gonna do this in on the boat, but the amount of people that were coming exceeded that room. And so then they realized, well, crap, we gotta put it in the biggest room on the ship, which is the encore place. And they have like consistent year-round or 6 months out of the year touring production shows, like the 80s show, the rock show, and all that. And so everything in that room is built for that. Like they side store, they do all that, like Arizona and California, rehearse it, do everything, and then they ship it all to the boat. Okay. At least that's what I'm told. So when they moved Frank's show into there, we had to take whatever time was available. So like the other morning, the acoustic thing, before that started, there was Dr. Seuss stuff going on in there, kid stuff. And that's why it was in the morning. So we had to just take the slots,
Well, it's just odd for the fans being an
10:30.
early concert like that, but like, man, like Frank, I was like, man, 10:15 is like, we got to start drinking early today.
Yeah, we get
We've
to 6
never been-
o'clock and start drinking.
And I'll say that the acoustic thing that Frank did, I guess it was 2 days ago.
Right.
And of course, I know Frank, and we're very good friends, and I know a lot of the stories that he told. But I think if I was a fan, and I said this to one of the guys backstage as it was taking place, I said, to me, this is worth the price.
Oh, it
Yes,
was,
sir.
It was
Yes,
way worth
that
it.
was
I mean, you're
nasty.
seeing things that he never does.
Right.
He's talking about things he never.
It exceeded what I was expecting. You know, I was thinking you guys are all going to be out there doing acoustical, like kind of like a Tesla 5-man acoustical jam or something. But just to hear the stories and the way Frank felt about telling the stories about it, it's like, man, this is worth it. And I've got it all recorded, so you guys are going to be in for a treat. I know Andy, our other admin, kind of Facebook Lived it, but I did record the whole thing. We're going to put it on YouTube to show the rest of the fans.
I'll tell you something that
pretty interesting to see.
what I think is cool about that, people can see it, and then I think it'll make sense to them what I'm about to say. Like, people wonder why Frank won't sign a record deal, and I'm involved in this, and even I wonder at times.
Right.
You know, I've talked about that, but when I sat back there and listened to him tell these stories, and I know some of the things that have gone on in Nashville and their labels. There's a lot of labels that have wanted to sign him all the time,
Right.
and one in particular got really close, and I think he was considering it, and I know throughout the process they pitched him a bunch of songs, and that's the way a lot of stuff in Nashville works is you've almost got two different things. You've got the road stuff, and then you got like the songwriting and the in-town stuff. And the way a lot of the labels work is they're trying to hedge their bets, so they want their artists to cut songs that they have ownership in through the publishing agency. So a lot of the junk you hear on the radio, it's wrote by writers that aren't the artist, and the artist might be one of the 2 or 3 writers, but it's all these other people. And when I'm sitting back there listening to Frank, and I'm thinking, what's so unique about him is every song that he's ever recorded, there's a real story behind it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not just some bullshit made up like, oh, well, I'm gonna write about a girl in the back of a truck and going down the road at night or whatever it is. It's like these are real things, and these are real people.
Yeah, it's none of that fake Jason Aldean stuff.
No. I mean,
and that's what makes Frank the fans really appreciate.
Yeah.
We sit there and we listen to those words and we're like, man, he has such a skill just writing the songs, not just singing them.
Yeah.
But when he
writes them.
sings it, he brings that out
He does.
to There's a lot of good songs out there that some people just cannot perform it properly to bring it out.
Sure.
We're listening to the words on it, but when you listen to the Frank words, it's like, oh my God, man, this is like just clever.
Well, I think when you write them, and I think that's why the record deal thing may never happen. One of many reasons, but one of them is because I love the fact that Frank will not jeopardize the integrity of his music to be a millionaire or to sign a record.
Right.
Because he could easily sign a record.
Oh yeah.
He could have signed one 6 months ago if he wanted to. But then he would run the risk of getting in a situation where he had to cut songs that he didn't either co-wrote or someone else wrote.
Right.
And as it stands now, 71 or 2 songs that he's recorded. He's wrote every single one of them by himself. It's quite a feat in my opinion.
Oh, it is.
And that's what makes him unique.
And they're good songs. And it's not like a whole bunch of bad songs mixed in there. He's got hits after hits. I know talk to other people. It's like, all right, he's got a new CD out, man. I cannot wait for the new songs. They're like, oh crap, what songs is he gonna cut out of the concert that we don't get to hear?
Yeah.
You know, because now we got these new songs that are gonna take that place. It's like, oh man, now I know he's juggling it too, and you guys are all in the band sitting there juggling.
You know,
like, what really hits with the audience out there.
Well, when the cruise thing first came up, one of the ideas that we had discussed on how to execute something like this, where you had to play multiple nights with the same group of people. So we can't do it the same thing all the time. Well, so early on with it, this would be an opportunity to play every night, play something new that we know. But the problem was, then we had 2 new guys come into the band right at the end of last year. And so we had to bring them up to speed on just a tour show. And we played 3 or 4 tour stops prior to getting on the ship. So we didn't have time for them to learn a bunch of new stuff.
Right.
But it worked out good. I mean, like I said, the acoustic thing the other night was incredible.
It was. You know, we're sitting there, and man, we're just locked in. It's like listening to these stories. Like, dude, this is totally worth it. This is the best concert I've been to. I'm not even here for the songs. I'm just here for the stories. You know.
Yeah, that's me. I just love stories.
Right. Then he'll just sit there, and I told Frank today when I seen him, I was like, man, you have a second job of just telling stories, because you could sit there and just kind of keep people, tuned in. Your storytelling is awesome. So you guys are in for a treat. If you haven't watched the whole video yet, but I will post it as soon as we get back to it. I get some really good fast Wi-Fi, because I think it's like a 30 gigabyte video to upload. So it's going to be quite a task for me just to get it uploaded. But really awesome. So let's get back to Jeremy. Frank gets all the attention already, so we're going to give Jeremy some attention here. So when did you start playing drums and stuff?
I started, I think I was in 7th grade. I'll tell you a neat little story here if you want to hear the story.
Yeah, go ahead, tell us.
So the high school band that came to my junior high and did like a concert, junior high kids. Like I said, I think I was in 7th grade. And toward the end of it, they had the guy that just played the snare drum. He did a little solo thing. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Right.
And at the very end of that, the band director said, well, we're looking for more, band guys. So I ran in there quick as I could, and I said, oh man, I want to play drums. And he said, well, we don't have drums, it's percussion. So whatever it is, I want to play it. So a few weeks later, he introduced me to a guy who I think was, if I remember correctly, was a year younger than me.
Okay.
And he gave me some drumsticks and a little book, and he said, Dante, little black guy, Dante's going to take you, and during recess, he's going to teach you how to hold your sticks, how to count music, and how to read and understand the basics. So he taught me basic reading, quarter note, super basic stuff, and how to hold the sticks right. And then, so I got into band, and then I don't know what happened, but like the following year, when I actually got into band, Dante wasn't around. I never saw him again until about 2 years ago. I was home for Christmas in my little hometown in Jonesboro, and my wife and I decided to get coffee one morning, so we went by the McDonald's to get a little coffee and a biscuit or something. And I'm in the drive-thru, and I'm at the last window where you get your food. And I see this guy out there, and he's spraying the sidewalk off, whatever. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way. Dante was extremely cross-eyed. Like so much so that when you look right at him, he'd be looking over here.
Right.
Like it was really bad. Super nice guy. So anyhow, I get my food, and I'm pulling off, and I drive right by this guy, and he looks at me. I thought, holy crap, that's Dante, So I'm driving to my grandparents' house, and I just had this real feeling like I should go back and just thank him. Tell him, hey dude, what you taught me on that school bench, like I make a living doing that thing. but I wussed out, and I never went back. And then I mean, every time I've ever been back to McDonald's, I've never seen him. But I felt I wanted to real bad, but then there was a sense of, I don't know if you call it guilt or whatever, but it's like, well, then I didn't want to make him feel bad. That, I mean, I made it, and he didn't, but he taught me what I know.
That's all right. Hey, Dante, if you ever get to see this,
yeah, man,
dude, you're the reason.
You're the reason that
you're the reason, yeah.
That I learned the essentials to play music. So yeah, I started around 7th grade, and 8th grade kind of got a little bit more serious about it. And I think when I was in high school, that's when I realized I don't know how I'm going to do this for a living.
Yeah. Now, did you start out any bands in high school? Like
I had a bunch of friends that kind of played. My best friend got into playing drums with me, and so we would play together. He got some drums, and we'd have our drums in our room. We'd play Metallica and all that. That was my jam. I didn't really play country back then. I grew up listening to it. That's what my parents listened to.
Right.
But at that time, it was all the rock bands and stuff. And so yeah, we had little bands that we jammed with. And
I think we've all went through that stage where we kind of grew up listening to our parents' country. Then we all did our rock and roll. Yeah. So I still do a little bit of rock and roll, but I really lean toward the country now.
Yeah. Well, when I was on the
come back
exercise bike this morning, Metallica keeps me going.
Right.
You know?
I know. I was listening to Pantera the other day, just going over it, just jamming down.
Yeah,
I was like,
man.
It's like I can only listen to Frank part of the day. I listen to him every day, but part of the day we got jamming down to somebody else a little bit, just kind of.
Somebody asked me about my shirt the other day. You know.
Oh yeah, Five Finger Death Punch.
I love them.
Oh yeah.
But I love Frank Foster.
Right.
A lot more.
And that's what's great about the music you guys play. It's got that rock mixed in there with the country that it's like the best of both worlds for us, you know. So
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that going back to like Frank writing all the songs and the fact that we don't have a record label. So when we go in the studio and make an album, we make it however we want. Like,
right.
If we want to do something that everybody else would think, you know, you're either too country or not country enough or whatever, like, we don't care.
Right.
And so what you hear on the albums is like my influences growing up, whether it be Metallica or whatever, in certain things. And so I think that's how you get these unique sounding stuff. You know?
I definitely like how it references back to a lot of songs like Johnny Cougar, and then we got Penguins Jr. and all that. So, and you can, and that helps you relate. You know, I grew up, I was listening to John Cougar big time. It's like, you know, Jack and Diane was like the first song I ever heard. It's like, I loved it right off the bat.
Great
you know?
songs, man.
Yeah.
You know, and Topher is from Indiana. So
right. Oh yeah.
That's his hero.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So I started around 7 years.
So how did I know we kind of talked a little bit earlier about it, but we know Frank had a drummer before that, so you kind of came into we've said third album on here.
Yeah, I did a podcast probably 5 or 6 years ago for a guy who interviewed a lot of Louisiana artists and musicians, like Frank and a bunch of them. And I told this story in there, so I don't know if you've ever heard it, but how I came to be like a part of Frank. I was playing with another guy, and my brother still lives in Jackson Parish, and I go home 3 or 4 times a year at least. And one of the times, it was summertime, I was home off tour with the guy that I was playing with, and I'm riding through Ruston with my brother, just riding his Jeep with the top down, and Frank comes on the radio. It's Country to the Bone, and my brother says, "Oh man, this is Frank Foster, Country to the Bone." Dude, this sucks. Who is this? You know, I didn't like it at first. And I thought, this just doesn't, it wasn't that Frank was bad, it was just the quality of the song was just not very good. And Frank knows all this, so it's not like, you know, he's mad at me for telling the story. He probably thinks, so my brother got all mad at me. "Oh, you don't know who Frank is?" Like, "Oh, dude, I don't know who this guy is." So he starts telling me what Frank had done. And he only had one album out at the time, Bad Reputation. And so he immediately drives to a store and buys me the album. Right? And then we go back and we grilling hamburgers that night. I think it was on July 4th. And we had to listen to the whole record. And I heard Some of Us Still Do, and I thought, now that's a really good song. That's a good song. Well, you know, as you know, I don't have Facebook, so but my brother does. And he sent Frank a message because I was touring with another guy, and that guy had a record deal and management and all this kind of stuff. And I'd got involved in some of the business things, and so my brother thought, well, you know, you and Frank from the same area, it'd be nice if y'all knew each other. Frank sent his information, and I emailed him and just told him who I was. You know, if you ever, maybe we can get together sometime, chat, or if you ever wanted to hire me to play drums, maybe. But not being his band, you know, just like one of them. And I don't know how long after that it was. It was a while because Red Wing 6 Strings had come out before Frank ever called. He called me one day, and when I tell the story, he called me from the oil rig both times. The first time he's from the oil rig. Then he talks all deep on the phone, you know. Once I got done, I was like, dude, you don't talk like that. Hey, Jim, this is Frank Foster. And anyway, he wanted me to come do some shows with him. And I could have probably made it work logistically. I was coming home from a tour with a guy, and then I would have left that same day with Frank.
Right.
But I didn't really want to do it. I didn't want to, in case I didn't get back in time. But also, I didn't believe the hype that I was hearing about Frank. That he was selling these records, he was selling these tickets, and doing all this stuff. At that time, like I said, I was playing with a guy at a record deal, so I just was under the impression that, well, if you ain't got a record deal and you're not playing the game on Music Row in Nashville, then you're not really doing anything.
Right.
And my brother's been known to catch fish as big by the time he tells it. It's big old.
Nice.
He caught Jaws.
Right.
And so I turned him down. Like I sent him a list of drummers to call. And Lord works mysterious ways. For whatever reason, he called me a few months later and asked me again. And I'd been camping in the mountains, so I didn't have any phone service or anything for 3 or 4 days. And I come down from the mountains, turn my phone on. Hey Frank, hey Jim, this is Frank Foster. Oh man, I'm out on old rig, man. I need a drummer for a couple shows. Man. So, the guy that I was with at the time, I finally got to the point I'd had enough, you know. So I couldn't call Frank; he was on the rig. But I sent him. He told me send him an email, and I just told him call me back whenever you can. I'm back on land with my phone. You know. He called me back. We talked for a minute, and he kind of just made me an offer I couldn't refuse, you know. And I said, well, I'm on my way home. Let me talk to my wife about it. He called me back at 10 o'clock that night. And he called me back, and I said, I'm in. I'll do it. And then 2 or 3 days later, I met him. That's the first time I actually shook his hand at a rehearsal, first rehearsal. And he kind of took a chance on me by hiring me because we were going to rehearse once or twice and then get on the bus and go to the show. And I don't know that he had told the other drummer that he didn't need to show up. You know, he was told.
Right.
Or if he waited until he heard me play. He'd see me in videos probably. But ever since that day when we shook hands, we have become some of the best friends over the years. Yeah, man. So that's how I got it. I turned him down at first, and he called me again. So.
I didn't know Frank was still working on the oil rig after.
He was.
When did he finally quit that before he kind of?
So I came in October of 2012, and I think by February or March of the following year, I remember Ashley called me one weekend, or I called her. I would talk to her periodically about, I don't know, stuff or something. And either she called me or I called her one day. I know what it was. They had bought a house. They bought a new house, and I volunteered, or Ashley, I don't remember. But I went over and helped them because Frank was on the oil rig, kicked back, didn't deal with moving and packing and all. Me and Ashley did it all. And so I remember.
So
anyway,
some things never change.
That's right. Yeah. I joked with him, but I have to say this: when I bought my new house here just a few months ago, he showed up. Him, Topher, and our old bass player Caleb moved everything I had.
He paid you back.
He paid me back.
That's awesome.
So yeah. But anyhow, Ashley called me one day, and during the conversation, I remember her saying, "When Frank gets home, he's done." And I first thought, "What do you mean he's done? Like done playing music? I didn't quit my other gig to do this, you know." And she said, "No, he's done with the old rig. He's gonna." And I was really glad to hear that because not that I ever doubted that Frank was all in on this, but when I knew that, because Ashley at that time had already quit nursing and was handling the business full time,
right?
And so when he came off the rig, this was it, and so it really gave me a sense of we're really fixing to do it, because it's all or nothing now,
right?
And so that was early 2013. It was before we made Southern Soul.
Okay.
I think around February, March of that year, probably, if I had to take a guess.
Did you guys have that in the works at the time, or?
I had, the record?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. And when I got word he was coming out with the rig, that was a complete surprise.
Okay.
And then, I mean, it wasn't long after that. Shortly after that, we began talking about the next record, and I'm glad that he made some of the decisions he made. We brought in a producer. He was a good friend of mine who I'd worked with on some stuff, and Frank just asked me my opinion on it, and I said, well, instead of having at that time Chris Lord, one of the guitar players, do the album, I said, man, why don't you do a record and we play like the whole band?
Okay.
That way you begin to build your sound, because it's the same on record as it is live. And instead of bringing in some big fancy producer that's going to come in and tell you you got to do this and not this and that, my friend Zach, who actually lives in Ohio, came in, and he just had a lot of musical knowledge and had done some producing. It just was kind of like the coach, in the studio. I mean, Frank always had the final say on what we did, but it allowed. So when we made Southern Soul, which is still this day my favorite album, that was it wasn't long after Frank left. And that was the first one
so
we made.
This is Chris Lloyd. He's referenced in the
Chris
song,
Lord?
right? Lord, yeah.
So when Frank got started, the story that he told in the room that night about how he met Topher.
Right.
Well, the rest of that story goes, after the guy that Topher introduced him to, that Frank made a comment about that dude is high somewhere.
Right.
That guy was going to make Frank's album, like record it in his little janky home studio or whatever he had. But it didn't work out. And Topher knew Chris Lord, who was a guitar player, had a little home studio.
Okay.
And Topher told Chris, or Frank, you should call this Chris guy. I don't know how it worked out, but that's how Chris was introduced to Frank, and they made the record. Well, at that time, other than acoustic things, Frank had never played a show. So after he made With Him a Whiskey and put it out, people started playing it all the time. And so in Columbia, some people at that bar, Jason Parker is one of them. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know Jason Parker.
I know Jason.
So I don't know directly exactly how, but I believe it was Jason and his wife contacted Frank, I guess, through Facebook, and wanted him to come to the show. Well, the story I've heard is Frank had never done a full band show, and didn't know anything about how to do, didn't even have a band, so he called Chris Lord, who made the record. Hey man, they want us to go do the show. We got to put a band together. And Frank wanted Topher because he knew Topher, played guitar, like he said in the room. They became friends. So it was Chris, Topher, Lucas, the first drummer, and I don't know who the first bass player was. And about the same time, they booked another show in Ruston, Louisiana. And $3.
Yeah,
$3. And so they worked it out to where they would play Columbia on Friday and $3 on Saturday. And if you hear Frank tell the story, they thought, well, we'll just, and Topher says the same thing. Well, I'll just go do this. It'll be cool for a weekend or two, and that'll be that. But when they got there, it was sold out. Both shows were. And so anyhow, that's where it started. And Chris Lord was in the band the whole time. He was the guitar player. And then when I was hired, he was still in the band. And I was with him a little over a year maybe. And then, sometimes personalities just don't always gel right. And Chris thought maybe things should be handled a different way. And in this organization, even though it looks like a band, it's not. It's a dictatorship. That's what I tell friends. Like, dude, you're the boss. If you don't like something, I can give you my opinion, but it only goes so far, and that's. And I like it that way. I don't want to be equally part members of Frank, because then I'm also responsible for everything. And if only 10 people show up at the show, I still get paid my regular versus 10,000. But with Chris Lord, he kind of thought that maybe he was maybe a little bit more important than Frank. So anyway, they went their separate ways, and that's how. But that's who that guy is. And I'll say this about Chris, and Frank will probably say the same thing. Chris made Rhythm and Whiskey, he made Bad Reputation and Red Wings and Six Strings. And those two albums, especially Red Wings and Six Strings with the Blue Collar Boys, they really kicked off Frank's career. And Chris did an outstanding job. how he made those records could not be done. So I give him all the credit there. But Frank wrote the songs. It's Frank's songs. It's Frank's personality on stage. It's all Frank. It's just like me. I mean, I feel like I tell people, you know, they ask, "Are you a good drummer?" Best Frank drummer you're gonna find. But that's not to say that I can't play Steve with some of the magic stuff that I do behind the scenes. I do all those things, and I feel like this is just as much my operation as Frank's. Like I said earlier, so Frank has the final say. But I'm easily, nobody buys tickets and buys albums to see me play drums. They want to come see Frank. And that's the issue. And if any time I lose focus of that, it's time for me. And that's kind of the way it is.
Well, I know as fans, we're glad you're in the band, so we really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because you guys are, everybody's family. You know, the FF Nation here, we're all family. And we consider the whole band family. It's like, even when we lost Caleb and Robert Block here, it's like, it was still family, but now we got new family members. And we're going to take them in just like, you know, they've been here forever. So.
And Rob and Hooper, or Caleb, I call him, we always talk. We're still great friends. We text all the time. And that was just kind of, I mean, sometimes in life there's seasons for certain things, and sometimes the season comes to an end. And Hooper wanted to be home more, and Rob wanted to. So we made, well, my friend, like I said earlier, he was a producer on Southern Soul with Whiskey, and then from that point on, we done it ourselves. And Rob, who is one of the most talented, most just knowledgeable musicians that I've ever worked with. He went to Berkeley, and he's incredible. And a very good guy. He was our kind of leader in the song, right? And he's a great producer. And I think that's some of the stuff he wanted to do was go and build his thing to become a producer and do more things and work his career in that way. But you can't really do that. It's like we make our records and then we drill to our almost all the year. So there's no, some people are like, there must be some bad blood. It's like, dude, we're all great friends. I mean,
It's good to hear.
it is. Yeah.
Alright, I know it's kind of getting a little dark here on the cruise ship, so if you guys can't see us, hopefully you can. I don't know how good my camera's holding up there. But
We can always continue some other time
Yes.
if you want to do that.
It has
I love to tell stories and talk.
it has been awesome. I know the guys out there that hasn't got to be on the cruise here with us, even with the guys and gals that's been on the cruise here with us, are going to enjoy this video. Just finding out the stuff like this was said, and just the stuff like this is just priceless to us fans. So, but we appreciate you, Jeremy, being
Yeah,
here.
man, absolutely.
And like I said,
thanks for reaching out.
Jeremy Warren 84
Yeah.
on Instagram. Follow him, get some more inside scoop. So I appreciate it. And we're going to sign off right here. You guys have a good night, and we're going to go drink some more drinks.
That's right.
All right. Thank you.